Harry Wright's eyes snap open as his spacecraft shudders violently. Alarms blare, red lights flash, and the control panel erupts in a shower of sparks. He grips the yoke, muscles straining as he fights to maintain control of the plummeting vessel. The alien planet's surface rushes up to meet him, a tapestry of purple vegetation and crystalline rock formations, growing larger by the second. Impact! Metal screams! Harry's world turns upside down. When consciousness returns, Harry finds himself hanging upside down in his harness, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. He releases the buckle, dropping unceremoniously to the ground. Groaning, he crawls through the twisted wreckage and emerges into the harsh light of an alien sun. The crash site is a scene of devastation. Debris litters the landscape, smoke rising from the still smoldering engines. Harry takes stock of his situation. Stranded on an uncharted world, no way to call for help, limited supplies. His seasoned explorer's instincts kick in as he begins to salvage what he can from the wreckage. A movement catches his eye. Harry freezes, hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. From behind a twisted panel of hull plating emerges a figure that stops him in his tracks. Standing before him is a female alien of breathtaking beauty. Her skin shimmers with an opalescent sheen, her large almond-shaped eyes regarding him with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "I am Mira," she says, her voice melodic and accented. "I am Deltan." Harry's mind races. The Deltans, an advanced race known for their alluring appearance and complex social structures. What was one doing on his ship? As if reading his thoughts, Mira explains, "I was observing. It is my first mission to study humans." Before Harry can process this revelation, a piercing screech echoes across the landscape. Both human and Deltan instinctively duck as a winged creature with razor-sharp talons swoops overhead. "We must find shelter," Mira urges, her eyes scanning the horizon. Harry nods, pushing aside his questions for now. Survival takes precedence. He gathers what supplies he can carry, and together they set off towards a rocky outcropping in the distance. As they walk, Harry notices Mira stealing glances at him, her gaze lingering on his lower body. He shifts uncomfortably, aware of the Deltan's reputation for unique mating practices. They reach the outcropping just as the alien sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the purple landscape. Harry works to construct a makeshift shelter while Mira examines their surroundings. "Harry," she says, her voice hesitant, "I must ask you something." He turns to face her, noting the intensity in her gaze. "Your anatomy," Mira continues, gesturing towards his groin. "It is different from ours. May I, examine it?" Harry's eyes widen in surprise. He opens his mouth to respond, but before he can, a distant explosion rocks the ground beneath their feet. Mira's face pales, and Harry sees fear in her eyes for the first time. "What was that?" he demands. Mira hesitates, clearly torn between revealing a secret and maintaining her silence. The tension between them grows, a palpable force in the alien twilight. As night falls on this hostile world, Harry realizes that survival may be the least of his concerns. Between Mira's mysterious agenda, the dangers of an unknown planet, and the looming threat of whatever caused that explosion, he finds himself at the center of a situation with potentially galaxy-altering consequences. And through it all, he can't shake the feeling that the beautiful alien at his side is the key to unraveling it all. If only he can figure out her true intentions. Harry's mind raced as he processed Mira's question about examining his anatomy. Before he could formulate a response, the ground beneath them shook violently. The explosion in the distance shattered the alien twilight, sending tremors through the rocky outcropping. "We need to move," Harry said, pushing aside his surprise at Mira's request. That blast could mean danger. Mira nodded, her earlier curiosity replaced by a look of tenacity. They gathered their meager supplies and set off into the night, guided by the faint glow of the planet's 3 moons. As they trekked across the harsh terrain, Harry couldn't shake the feeling that Mira knew more than she was letting on. Her reaction to the explosion had been one of recognition rather than surprise. He decided to press her for answers. "Mira, what aren't you telling me about that explosion?" She hesitated, her opalescent skin shimmering in the moonlight. I'm not certain, but we should investigate. It could be related to my mission. Their journey took them through dense thickets of purple vegetation, sharp crystalline formations jutting from the ground like teeth. Hours passed, and the alien sun began to rise, casting an eerie orange glow across the landscape. Suddenly, Mira stopped in her tracks. "There," she whispered, pointing to a rocky outcropping ahead. As they approached, Harry saw it, a sleek structure seamlessly integrated into the rock face. Its smooth, metallic surface contrasted sharply with the jagged terrain surrounding it. "A Deltan outpost," Mira explained, her voice tinged with a mix of relief and apprehension. They cautiously approached the entrance, a seamless door that slid open at Mira's touch. Inside, they found a compact but well-equipped facility. Advanced terminals lined the walls, their screens displaying streams of unfamiliar data. Mira immediately moved to one of the consoles, her fingers dancing across the interface. "I can use this to contact my people," she said, her voice filled with urgency. As she worked, Harry explored the outpost, marveling at the advanced technology. His exploration was cut short by a sudden piercing whine that filled the air. Pain exploded in his head, bringing him to his knees. "Harry!" Mira cried out, rushing to his side. "The communication pulse. It must have interfered with your neural implants." Through gritted teeth, Harry managed to speak. How did you know about my implants?" Mira's expression softened. "We've been studying humans for some time. Here, let me help." She placed her hands on either side of Harry's head, her touch cool and soothing. As she worked, Harry felt the pain begin to subside. The closeness of her body, the gentle pressure of her fingers, sent an unexpected thrill through him. As the pain receded, Harry found himself staring into Mira's large, almond-shaped eyes. The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken tension. Finally, Harry broke the silence. "Mira, I need answers. What's really going on here? Why are the Deltans on this planet?" Mira sighed, her shoulders sagging. "We've been studying humans for years. Your species fascinates us, your resilience, your adaptability. But there's more." She gestured to a device on a nearby workbench. "That prototype was damaged in the crash. It's a teleportation device, Harry, one that could change everything." Harry's eyes widened. "Teleportation? That's revolutionary," Mira finished, "and dangerous in the wrong hands. We fear what might happen if humans acquire this technology." As they discussed the implications of this revelation, Harry began to explore the outpost more thoroughly. He discovered a hidden storage area filled with supplies, food, water, medical equipment. Their chances of survival had just improved dramatically. However, their relief was short-lived. As Harry examined a control panel, his hand accidentally brushed against a sensor. Alarms blared, and heavy shutters slammed down over the entrance and windows. "No!" Mira exclaimed, rushing to a terminal. "The security system has activated. We're locked in." They worked frantically to override the system, but as minutes turned to hours, the air grew thin. Harry could feel his lungs burning with each breath. "There's only one way," Mira said, her voice strained. "I need to interface directly with the system. But it's risky. The neural load could be damaging." Harry nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Tell me what to do. I'll help you." As Mira connected herself to the system, Harry followed her instructions, manipulating unfamiliar controls. The closeness required for the delicate operation heightened the tension between them. Harry found himself increasingly distracted by Mira's presence, her scent filling his nostrils. "Harry!" Mira gasped, her body trembling with the strain of the interface. "Your reaction? I didn't think humans were susceptible to our pheromones." Before Harry could respond, the security system deactivated with a low hum, but the victory was short-lived as the lack of oxygen took its toll. Harry's vision blurred, and he felt himself slipping into unconsciousness. The last thing he saw was Mira collapsing beside him. When Harry awoke, he found himself entangled with Mira on the floor of the outpost. Her body was warm against his, their limbs intertwined in a way that sent a jolt of electricity through him. As Mira stirred, their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken tension. They disentangled themselves awkwardly, both acutely aware of the shift in their relationship. The shared danger, the intimacy of their situation, had forged a connection neither had anticipated. As they gathered themselves and prepared to leave the outpost, a new sound caught their attention. Harry rushed to a window, his heart racing. In the distance, a sleek ship was descending through the atmosphere. "A Deltan rescue ship," Mira breathed, her voice a mix of relief and uncertainty. Harry turned to her, seeing the conflict in her eyes. He knew she was torn between her duty to her people and the connection they had formed. And he realized that his newfound knowledge of Deltan technology might make him a target. As the ship drew closer, Harry and Mira stood at the entrance of the outpost, watching its approach. The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken words and difficult choices. Whatever happened next would change everything. Everything. The tension in the air was palpable as the Deltan ship's landing gear extended, kicking up swirls of purple dust. In that moment, Mira made a decision that would alter the course of both their lives. She grasped Harry's hand, her fingers intertwining with his. "We can't stay here," she whispered urgently, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and purpose. Before Harry could process what was happening, Mira pulled him away from the outpost. They sprinted across the alien landscape, their feet pounding against the crystalline soil. The dense purple vegetation of the alien forest loomed before them, offering concealment from the approaching Deltan ship. As they plunged into the forest, Harry's mind raced. Mira's actions surprised him, revealing a depth to their connection he hadn't fully grasped until now. The delicate leaves of the alien flora brushed against their skin as they pushed deeper into the undergrowth, the sounds of the landing ship growing fainter behind them. They ran until their lungs burned, finally stopping in a small clearing. Harry leaned against a tree, its bark smooth and cool beneath his palm. "Mira," he panted, why aren't we meeting your people?" Mira's opalescent skin shimmered with exertion, her eyes darting nervously back the way they had come. I couldn't let them find you, Harry. The situation is more complicated than I initially revealed." Before she could elaborate, a low hum filled the air. They looked up to see a sleek silver craft gliding over the treetops, a Deltan search vehicle. Mira grabbed Harry's arm, pulling him towards a rocky outcropping nearby. As they approached, they noticed a dark opening at its base, the entrance to a cave system. Without hesitation, they ducked inside, the cool darkness enveloping them. The cave was narrow, forcing them to press close together as they moved deeper into its recesses. Harry was acutely aware of Mira's body against his, her warmth and scent filling his senses. As they ventured further into the cave, Mira began to speak, her voice low and tinged with emotion. "Harry, there's something you need to understand about Deltans. Our intimacy is not like yours. We form deep telepathic bonds during mating. It can be overwhelming for non-Deltans." Harry's heart raced at her words, a mixture of desire and apprehension coursing through him. "Is that why you asked about my anatomy earlier?" Mira nodded, her eyes gleaming in the dim light filtering through the cave entrance. "Yes, I was curious, but also drawn to you. It's dangerous, Harry. The bond could reveal things neither of us is prepared for." Their conversation was cut short by a sudden rumbling. The ground beneath their feet shook, and a heavy stone slab slid into place, sealing the cave entrance. Panic gripped them as they realized they were trapped. "A security system," Mira gasped, her hands running along the smooth cave walls. "It must have been triggered by our presence." As if in response to her words, a soft glow began to emanate from the walls, the air around them filled with a shimmering, bioluminescent gas. Harry's senses began to heighten, colors becoming more vivid, sounds sharper. He could hear Mira's rapid heartbeat, see the individual flecks of color in her eyes. "The gas," Mira said, her voice sounding distant and melodious. "It's a defense mechanism. It's affecting our minds, lowering our inhibitions." Harry felt a wave of desire wash over him, stronger than anything he had experienced before. He reached out, his fingers tracing the curve of Mira's face. She leaned into his touch, her breath catching. "Harry," she whispered, "if we do this, there's no going back. The telepathic link—" But her words were lost as their lips met. The kiss was electric, sending shockwaves through Harry's body. He felt Mira's consciousness brush against his, a tentative link forming between their minds. As they sank to the cave floor, their bodies intertwining, the telepathic connection deepened. Harry was flooded with Mira's emotions, her memories. He saw glimpses of Deltan cities, shimmering and ethereal. Complex equations and schematics for advanced technology flashed through his mind. In turn, Mira experienced flashes of Harry's life, the vastness of space seen from a ship's viewport, the camaraderie of his fellow explorers, the drive for expansion that fueled human endeavors. Their physical and mental union was intense, overwhelming. As they reached the height of their passion, the telepathic link flared brightly, then settled into a persistent, pulsing connection. In the aftermath, as they lay entwined on the cave floor, the gravity of what had transpired began to sink in. The bioluminescent gas was dissipating, but the effects of their encounter lingered. "I can still feel you," Harry murmured, his mind awash with echoes of Mira's thoughts and feelings. Mira nodded, her expression a mix of wonder and concern. "The link? It's not supposed to last like this with non-Deltans. This is unprecedented." Before they could discuss it further, a new sound reached their ears, the whine of cutting tools. The Deltan search party had found the cave and was attempting to break through the sealed entrance. Harry scrambled to his feet, his mind racing. The fragmentary knowledge of Deltan technology he had gained through the link spurred him into action. He moved to a section of the cave wall where complex patterns were etched into the stone. "I think I can deactivate the security system," he said, his fingers tracing the patterns. But the task proved more difficult than he anticipated, the alien system resisting his attempts to interface with it. Mira joined him, still disoriented from their intense telepathic experience. "Let me help," she said, placing her hands over his. As they worked together, the sound of the cutting tools grew louder. The air in the cave grew tense with urgency. Suddenly, Harry's hand brushed against a hidden panel. A section of the cave wall slid open, revealing a small chamber bathed in a soft, pulsing light. At its center stood an object unlike anything Harry had ever seen, an artifact of clearly non-human, non-Deltan origin. The artifact emitted a faint energy signature that seemed to interfere with the cave's systems. The security protocols flickered, disrupted by its presence. Harry and Mira exchanged a look, both sensing the immense potential and danger the artifact represented. As the sound of the Deltan cutting tools reached a fever pitch, they faced a crucial decision. "If we use it," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper, "there's no telling what might happen. To us, to our people, to the entire galaxy." Harry's hand hovered over the artifact, feeling its energy thrumming through the air. The partial, telepathic link with Mira pulsed in his mind, their shared apprehension and excitement mingling. The cave entrance began to give way, bright light spilling into the chamber. In that moment, Harry's fingers closed around the artifact, its surface cool and alive beneath his touch. Whatever happened next, he knew, would change everything. Everything. The moment Harry's fingers closed around the artifact, a blinding flash of energy erupted from its surface, engulfing both him and Mira in a cocoon of pulsating light. The cave walls seemed to melt away, replaced by a dizzying vortex of colors and sensations. When the world solidified around them again, Harry found himself alone in a vast chamber filled with sleek, unfamiliar technology. The partial telepathic link with Mira flickered and faded, leaving a hollow emptiness in his mind. Disoriented, he stumbled forward, his hands brushing against smooth metallic surfaces that hummed with latent power. Drawing on the fragmented knowledge he had gained from his connection with Mira, Harry approached what appeared to be a control panel. His fingers moved almost of their own accord, tracing patterns across its surface. A holographic display sprang to life, filling the air with intricate schematics and streams of alien text. As Harry deciphered the information before him, his eyes widened in awe. "This facility, it's part of some kind of galactic network," he muttered to himself, "created by a species called the Precursors." Meanwhile, in another section of the underground complex, Mira regained consciousness in a dimly lit biolab. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a different alien specimen. Some she recognized from ancient Deltan texts, while others were completely foreign to her. As she moved through the lab, Her elbow accidentally brushed against a protruding sensor. A beam of light scanned her body from head to toe, and a nearby screen flickered to life. Mira watched as her Deltan genetic code was displayed and compared to the stored samples. "Fascinating," she breathed, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her concern for their situation. These precursors were studying the genetic makeup of various species, including Deltans. The sound of heavy footsteps echoing through distant corridors snapped Mira back to reality. Commander Zax and his team had traced the energy surge from the artifact's activation and were now methodically searching the facility. In another part of the complex, Harry had discovered a room housing an enormous quantum computer. As he stepped inside, the machine roared to life, tendrils of energy reaching out to interface with his neural implants. Suddenly, his mind was flooded with an overwhelming torrent of information about the precursor's advanced science and technology. Harry collapsed to the floor, his body convulsing as his brain struggled to process the vast influx of knowledge. Through the haze of pain, he felt a faint echo of his connection with Mira, a lifeline in the sea of alien information threatening to drown him. Mira, sensing Harry's distress through their weakened link, raced through the labyrinthine facility. She ducked into shadowy alcoves and slipped through closing doors, narrowly avoiding detection by Zax's search parties. As she navigated the complex, Mira stumbled upon a chamber that made her gasp in shock. Rows of cylindrical tanks lined the walls, each containing embryos of various species. Her trained eye recognized human and Deltan embryos among them, alongside other, more alien forms. They were experimenting with genetic manipulation, Mira realized, her mind racing with the implications. Perhaps even crossbreeding between species. Finally, Mira located the quantum computer room. She found Harry on the floor, his body racked with spasms, his eyes rolled back in his head. Acting quickly, she scanned the room and spotted a device that resembled Deltan medical equipment. Drawing on her scientific knowledge and her deepening connection to Harry, Mira activated the precursor medical device. She placed its sensor array against Harry's temples, her fingers dancing across its controls as she attempted to stabilize his neural patterns. As Mira worked, she felt the telepathic link between them strengthen. Suddenly, she was sharing the burden of the precursor knowledge, her mind expanding to encompass millennia of scientific advancement and galactic history. The shared experience deepened their bond beyond anything either of them had experienced before. Together, they saw glimpses of the precursor's rise and fall, their manipulation of countless species evolution, and the awesome technologies they had left scattered across the galaxy. Harry's eyes fluttered open, his gaze locking with Mira's. In that moment, they both understood the gravity of what they had discovered. The facility contained technologies that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, and even the nature of consciousness itself. "This knowledge," Harry said, his voice hoarse, "it could change everything. For humans, for Deltans, for every species in the galaxy." Mira nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. But in the wrong hands, it could lead to devastating wars. The power contained here is beyond anything our peoples have ever known. Their silent communication was interrupted by the sound of a door being forced open nearby. Commander Zax and his team had detected the energy fluctuations from the quantum computer and were closing in on their location. Harry and Mira exchanged a look of understanding. They had to make a decision, and quickly. Should they destroy the facility to prevent its technology from being exploited, or try to preserve the knowledge for the benefit of both their species? As they deliberated, Harry's gaze fell upon a holographic display that had activated during their mental link with the quantum computer. It showed a star map with pulsing points of light scattered across the galaxy. "Mira, look," he said urgently. "These must be other precursor sites. Each one could contain technology as powerful as what we found here." The implications of this discovery raised the stakes of their choice exponentially. Whatever they decided would shape the future of interstellar exploration and diplomacy for generations to come. Through their strengthened telepathic link, Harry and Mira communicated silently, sharing thoughts and emotions with an intimacy that transcended physical boundaries. In those moments, they were forced to confront not only the weight of their decision, but also the depth of their feelings for each other, or The sound of Commander Zax's team breaching the outer doors of the quantum computer room spurred them into action. Harry and Mira moved to the facility's central control terminal, their hands hovering over the controls that could either activate a self-destruct sequence or broadcast the facility's existence to both human and Deltan authorities. As the door began to give way, Harry and Mira locked eyes one final time, their fingers poised above the controls. The fate of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Balance. In that split second, their eyes met, and a silent understanding passed between them. Harry's fingers flew across the controls, initiating a partial data transfer to their neural implants. The quantum computer hummed to life, its energy pulsing through the room as it began downloading critical information into their minds. "We can't let this knowledge fall into unprepared hands," Mira whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the Deltan team breaching the outer doors. Harry nodded, his concentration intense as he guided the transfer process. "But we can't destroy it either. This could be the key to a new era of cooperation between our species." As the data streamed into their neural implants, the telepathic link between them intensified. Harry gasped as he felt his consciousness expanding, merging with Mira's in a way that transcended their previous connection. Fragments of precursor knowledge flowed between them, creating a shared understanding that was both exhilarating and overwhelming. The door to the quantum computer room began to buckle under the assault from Commander Zax's team. Sparks flew as the locking mechanism started to give way. "We need to go," Mira urged, her mind racing through the newfound knowledge they had acquired. Harry's eyes lit up as he accessed a hidden subroutine in the facility systems. "There's an emergency teleportation system. If we can just—" The door exploded inward, and Commander Zax burst into the room, his weapon raised. "Step away from the controls," he shouted. But Harry had already activated the teleportation sequence. A brilliant white light enveloped him and Mira, and they felt a momentary sensation of weightlessness before the world around them dissolved. When their vision cleared, they found themselves standing in the middle of a dense jungle. The humid air clung to their skin, and the calls of alien wildlife echoed through the trees. They were far from the crash site and the Deltan outpost, but their shared consciousness allowed them to orient themselves quickly. "We made it," Harry breathed, taking in their surroundings. Mira nodded, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar flora. "But we're not out of danger yet. We need to find shelter and assess our situation." As they began to move through the jungle, they realized the full extent of their transformation. Without speaking, they could communicate complex ideas and emotions, their thoughts flowing seamlessly between them. This new level of intimacy added depth to their physical and emotional connection, making them acutely aware of each other's presence. Harry reached out to touch a vibrant, spiral-shaped plant. "Poisonous," he murmured, accessing the precursor database in his mind. "But that one over there is edible and rich in nutrients." Mira nodded, already moving towards a cluster of bulbous fruits. "And these will provide hydration." The precursors cataloged this entire ecosystem. As they foraged for sustenance, they encountered a variety of alien creatures. A six-legged iridescent insectoid buzzed past them, while a serpentine creature with bioluminescent patterns slithered through the underbrush. Their shared knowledge allowed them to avoid potential threats and marvel at the planet's unique biodiversity. As the twin suns of the planet began to set, casting a purple glow through the canopy, Harry and Mira stumbled upon something unexpected. Partially buried in the jungle floor was a metallic object, its surface etched with familiar precursor symbols. "An artifact?" Mira whispered, kneeling beside it. Harry joined her, their hands brushing as they cleared away the debris. As soon as they touched the artifact, it hummed to life, projecting a holographic map of the galaxy above them. "Incredible," Harry breathed, his eyes wide as he took in the vast expanse of stars and planets. Mira pointed to several pulsing points of light on the map. "Look, these must be other precursor facilities." As they studied the map, they both froze, their shared consciousness processing the information simultaneously. Two of the highlighted locations were unmistakable, one in the Sol system, near Earth, and another in the heart of Deltan space. "This changes everything," Harry said, his voice barely above a whisper. Our civilizations have been influenced by precursor technology all along, without even knowing it. Before they could fully process this revelation, a new signal appeared on the holographic display. Using their enhanced understanding of precursor technology, they quickly deciphered its meaning. "A ship has entered orbit," Mira said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's human." Harry nodded, accessing the data. "They must have picked up my distress beacon. It's a rescue ship." Their momentary relief was quickly replaced by a new sense of urgency. The arrival of a human ship complicated an already delicate situation. If they allowed themselves to be rescued, they risked exposing the existence of the precursor technology and potentially igniting a conflict between humans and Deltans. As they debated their next move, another alert flashed across the holographic display. The Deltan search party, led by Commander Zax, had escaped the underground facility and was now scanning the planet's surface. They had detected the energy signature from the activated precursor artifact and were closing in on Harry and Mira's location. "We need to act fast," Harry said, his mind racing through potential scenarios. Mira nodded, her thoughts intertwining with his as they formulated a plan. "We can't let either side get their hands on this technology before they're ready, but we can't keep it to ourselves either." Using the precursor artifact, they began composing a coded message. Drawing on their shared knowledge and understanding, they carefully selected fragments of precursor information that would promote cooperation rather than conflict. "If we can get both sides to see the potential benefits of working together," Harry said, his fingers dancing across the artifact's interface, "we might be able to prevent a catastrophe." As they put the finishing touches on their message, they heard the distant whine of engines. Both human and Deltan ships were descending through the atmosphere, converging on their location. Harry and Mira stood, their hands clasped tightly together. They had set in motion events that would shape the future of human-Deltan relations, and potentially the fate of the galactic realm itself. "Ready?" Harry asked, though he already knew the answer through their mental link. Mira squeezed his hand, her purpose matching his own. "Let's make history." Together they stepped out of the jungle's shadow and into the clearing, their eyes fixed on the ships descending from the darkening sky. The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, the dawn of a new era in interstellar relations. Relations and potentially the fate of the galactic realm itself. As Harry and Mira stepped out of the jungle's shadow, the twin suns had fully set, plunging the clearing into an eerie twilight. The whine of approaching engines grew louder, and soon, two distinct ships became visible against the violet sky. One bore the sleek lines and familiar markings of a human rescue vessel, while the other displayed the organic curves typical of Deltan design. The ships touched down simultaneously, kicking up a cloud of alien dust. As the particles settled, the vessel's hatches opened with a pneumatic hiss. From the human ship emerged Captain Sarah Chen, her stern features illuminated by the glow of her suit's built-in lights. Opposite her, Commander Zax's imposing figure descended from the Deltan craft, his iridescent skin reflecting the ambient light in mesmerizing patterns. Harry felt Mira's hand tighten around his, their thoughts intertwining as they faced the convergence of their two peoples. Through their shared consciousness, they formulated a plan to diffuse the tension that crackled in the air like static electricity. Captain Chen was the first to break the silence. "Dr. Harrison," she called out, her voice a mix of relief and confusion, as she took in the sight of Harry hand in hand with a Deltan. "We've been searching for you since we received your distress beacon." Before Harry could respond, Commander Zax's deep, resonant voice cut through the night. "Mira, step away from the human. We're here to bring you home." Harry and Mira exchanged a glance, their mental link allowing them to communicate volumes in an instant. As one, they raised their free hands, palms out in a universal gesture of peace. "Captain Chen, Commander Zax," Harry began, his voice steady and clear, "we understand your concerns, but there's something you both need to see." With a subtle nod to Mira, they turned towards the precursor artifact they had discovered earlier. As they approached it, the device hummed to life, responding to their presence. The holographic display flickered into existence, casting a soft blue glow over the assembled group. Gasps of surprise echoed from both human and Deltan teams as the galactic map materialized before them. Pulsing points of light highlighted locations across the stars, including unmistakable markers in both human and Deltan space. "What is this?" Captain Chen demanded, her eyes wide as she took in the display. Commander Zax stepped forward, his usual composure slipping as he studied the hologram. "It appears to be a map of some kind, but the technology, it's like nothing I've ever seen." Harry nodded, feeling the weight of their newfound knowledge pressing upon him. "This is precursor technology," he explained, "an advanced civilization that influenced both our species long before we reached the stars." As Harry and Mira began to elaborate on their shared experiences and the potential benefits of cooperation, a low rumble interrupted their explanation. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble, slowly at first, then with increasing intensity. "Earthquake!" someone shouted, but Harry and Mira recognized it as something more significant. The earth split open mere meters from where they stood, a yawning chasm revealing glimpses of metal and crystal beneath the planet's surface. As the ground continued to shift, members of both teams struggled to maintain their footing. Harry's enhanced strength, a gift from the precursor data integration, surged through him as he saw a Deltan scientist lose his balance near the edge of the forming crevasse. Without hesitation, he lunged forward, grabbing the alien's arm and pulling him to safety with a strength that surprised even himself. Simultaneously, Mira's heightened reflexes kicked in as a piece of equipment from the human ship toppled towards Captain Chen. In a blur of motion, Mira darted forward, tackling the captain out of harm's way, just as the heavy gear crashed to the ground. As the seismic activity subsided, an eerie silence fell over the clearing. The chasm had widened to reveal the unmistakable entrance to another precursor facility, its surface etched with familiar symbols that pulsed with an inner light. Captain Chen, still catching her breath from Mira's rescue, stared at the Deltan with a mix of gratitude and bewilderment. "Thank you," she managed, her voice hoarse. Commander Zax, equally shaken, nodded towards Harry. "Your actions saved one of my crew. You have my gratitude." The mutual acts of heroism had shifted the atmosphere, the earlier tension giving way to a cautious curiosity. As if in response to this change, the newly revealed precursor facility began to power up, panels lighting up in complex patterns. Harry and Mira felt a pull towards the entrance, their shared consciousness buzzing with excitement and apprehension. They turned to face the assembled teams, acutely aware that the next few moments would shape the future of human-Deltan relations. "Captain Commander," Harry began, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "What we've discovered here goes beyond our individual missions or species. This technology, this knowledge, it has the power to transform both our civilizations." Mira continued seamlessly, her thoughts aligning with Harry's. "But it also carries great risk. We propose a joint expedition to explore this facility and uncover its secrets together." Captain Chen and Commander Zax exchanged wary glances, years of mistrust and competition weighing heavily against the unprecedented situation before them. After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, Captain Chen spoke. "A temporary alliance," she said slowly, "for the purpose of scientific exploration and to ensure the safety of all personnel." Commander Zax nodded, his iridescent skin shimmering in the glow of the precursor technology. "Agreed. We shall establish a joint base camp and pool our resources." As the two leaders began to coordinate their teams, Harry and Mira found themselves at the center of a flurry of activity. Scientists from both species approached them, eyes wide with curiosity and notepads at the ready. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a human xenobiologist with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, was the first to reach them. "Dr. Harrison, the changes you've undergone, they're remarkable. Would you be willing to undergo some tests?" Before Harry could respond, Dr. Krell, a Deltan geneticist with swirling patterns across his bald head, joined them. "Mira, your enhanced abilities are unprecedented. We must study the effects of this precursor technology on your physiology." Harry and Mira shared a knowing look, their mental link buzzing with shared amusement and trepidation. They knew that their unique bond and the changes they had undergone would be crucial in understanding the precursor legacy. As night fully enveloped the alien world, The joint human-Deltan team worked tirelessly to set up a base camp. Floodlights illuminated the area, casting long shadows across the unfamiliar landscape. The air hummed with the sound of equipment being unloaded and assembled, punctuated by the occasional burst of excited chatter, as human and Deltan scientists found common ground in their shared curiosity. Harry and Mira stood at the edge of the camp, their gaze fixed on the entrance to the precursor facility. The symbols etched into its surface seemed to pulse in rhythm with their shared heartbeat, a silent call to the mysteries that lay within. As they contemplated the challenges that lay ahead, a flicker of movement caught their attention. From the depths of the jungle emerged a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. Its body was translucent, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that shifted and swirled in hypnotic sequences. More of these beings appeared, their light display growing more intricate as they approached the camp. The human and Deltan teams fell silent, all eyes fixed on the alien procession. Harry and Mira stepped forward, their minds working in tandem to decipher the patterns of light and color. Through their shared consciousness, they began to unravel the complex language of these bioluminescent guardians. As understanding dawned, Harry turned to the assembled teams, his voice filled with awe and excitement. "They're the guardians of this place," he explained, "and they've been waiting for us." The Guardians' arrival marked the beginning of a new chapter in this alien world. As human and Deltan alike gathered around Harry and Mira, the couple knew that their journey was just the beginning. The secrets of the precursors lay waiting to be uncovered, and with them, the potential to reshape the future of both their species and the galaxy at large. As the bioluminescent guardians approached, Harry and Mira felt a subtle pull towards the entrance of the precursor facility. The symbols etched into its surface pulsed with an otherworldly energy, beckoning them forward. "We need to go inside," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper. Harry nodded, feeling the same urgency through their mental link. He turned to Captain Chen and Commander Zax, who were still coordinating their teams. "Captain, Commander, we believe it's time to enter the facility." The leaders exchanged glances, then nodded in agreement. "Assemble a joint exploration team," Captain Chen ordered. "Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Krell, you're with us." As the selected team gathered their equipment, the bioluminescent guardians formed a path leading to the entrance. Their light patterns shifted, creating intricate designs that seemed to convey a sense of anticipation and welcome. Harry and Mira led the way, their hands clasped tightly as they stepped into the unknown. The moment they crossed the threshold, the facility came to life. Lights flickered on, illuminating a vast chamber filled with technology beyond their wildest imaginations. Holographic displays sprang to life, filling the air with swirling data and complex schematics. Control panels hummed with energy, their surfaces covered in symbols similar to those Harry and Mira had encountered before. "Incredible," Dr. Rodriguez breathed, her eyes wide as she took in the sight. "This technology, it's light years beyond anything we've ever seen." Dr. Krell nodded in agreement, his fingers hovering over a nearby control panel. "The power required to run this facility must be immense, but what is its purpose?" As if in response to his question, a massive holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed a planet-wide view of the alien world they stood on, with pulsing lines of energy crisscrossing its surface. Harry and Mira approached the display, their shared consciousness working to decipher the information. "It's a terraforming system," Harry said, his voice filled with awe. "And not just that, it's capable of genetic manipulation on a planetary scale." The implications of this revelation sent a ripple of excitement and concern through the team. Captain Chen stepped forward, her face a mask of concentration. "Are you saying this facility can alter the very fabric of life on this planet?" Before Harry could respond, Mira's attention was drawn to another section of the facility. "There's more," she said, leading the group deeper into the complex. They entered a central chamber dominated by a colossal machine. Its core pulsed with a soft blue light, and countless tendrils of energy extended from it, connecting to various terminals and devices throughout the room. Dr. Krell's eyes widened as he studied the machine. "This is a DNA sequencing device, but on a scale I've never imagined possible." Dr. Rodriguez joined him, her scientific curiosity overriding any lingering distrust. Together, they began to analyze the device's capabilities, their excited chatter filling the air as they made one startling discovery after another. "This machine," Dr. Rodriguez said, turning to the group with a mix of awe and trepidation in her voice, "it's capable of altering genetic structures across an entire planet. The implications are staggering." Commander Zax frowned, his iridescent skin rippling with concern. "Such power. It could reshape entire civilizations. The potential for misuse is immense." As the team grappled with the ethical implications of their discovery, Harry and Mira found themselves drawn to a central control interface. Without conscious thought, they placed their hands on its surface. Instantly, their minds were flooded with information. Images and data streamed through their shared consciousness, revealing the true purpose of the facility and the beings who created it. "The precursors," Harry gasped, his voice strained with the effort of processing the vast influx of knowledge. "They used this facility to guide evolution across the galaxy." Mira's eyes widened as she grasped the full implications. Humans, Deltans, we were all part of their grand experiment. This revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled team. The foundation of both species' understanding of their place in the universe had been irrevocably shaken. As they struggled to come to terms with this new reality, the bioluminescent guardians entered the chamber. They moved with purpose, interacting with the technology in ways that seemed almost instinctual. Harry and Mira, their ability to communicate with the guardians enhanced by their recent revelations, watched in fascination. They're not just protectors, Mira realized. They're caretakers, created by the precursors to maintain this facility. Captain Chen, her military training kicking in, quickly assessed the situation. "We need to establish a permanent presence here. The knowledge contained in this facility could revolutionize both our civilizations." Commander Zax nodded in agreement. "A joint research base, it will require unprecedented cooperation between our species, but the potential benefits are too great to ignore." As plans for the new base were being discussed, Harry and Mira continued to explore the facility's systems. Their unique connection allowed them to interface with the precursor technology in ways the others couldn't match. Suddenly, a piercing alarm cut through the air. Red warning lights flashed across the chamber as the facility's systems began to lock down. "What's happening?" Captain Chen demanded, her hand instinctively moving to her weapon. Harry and Mira, their minds still linked to the facility's interface, realized the truth with growing horror. "We've triggered a defense mechanism," Harry shouted over the blaring alarm. "The facility is going into lockdown." As panic began to spread through the team, Mira gripped Harry's hand tightly. "We can override it," she said, her voice filled with commitment. "But we'll need time." Commander Zax took charge, his commanding presence bringing order to the chaos. "The rest of us will search for an alternative exit. Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Krell, see if you can salvage any data before the systems shut down completely." As the team scattered to their tasks, Harry and Mira stood at the central interface, their minds working in perfect synchronization to bypass the security protocols. The facility around them hummed with energy, systems powering down one by one. In the midst of the crisis, the DNA sequencing device suddenly sprang to life. A strange energy field enveloped the central chamber, bathing Harry and Mira in its otherworldly glow. They felt a tingling sensation spread through their bodies, intensifying with each passing second. Their physical forms began to shift, bones and muscles reshaping as their very DNA was rewritten. The rest of the team watched in awe and horror as Harry and Mira's transformation accelerated. Human and Deltan features merged, creating hybrid beings that embodied the best of both species. As the energy field dissipated, Harry and Mira stood transformed. Their new bodies pulsed with power, their telepathic bonds stronger than ever. They turned to face the astonished team, their eyes glowing with newfound knowledge and abilities. "We can stop the lockdown," they said in unison, their voices resonating with power. "But we need to act fast. The planet's core has become unstable." Without waiting for a response, they turned back to the interface, their hybrid physiology allowing them to interact with the precursor technology on a level that was previously impossible. The facility's systems responded to their touch, security protocols falling away, as they raced against time to prevent a catastrophe. As Harry and Mira worked, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The instability at the planet's core was spreading, threatening to tear the entire world apart. Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "We need to evacuate, now!" But Harry and Mira knew they couldn't leave. Not yet. The fate of the planet, and possibly the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. With their new hybrid forms glowing with energy, they delved deeper into the facility's systems, determined to find a way to save not just themselves, but the priceless knowledge and technology contained within this ancient precursor complex. The tremors intensified, and the race against time began in earnest. As the rest of the team scrambled to gather what data and artifacts they could, Harry and Mira stood at the heart of the facility, channeling the power of the precursors in a desperate bid to stabilize the planet and secure a future where humans and Deltans could work together to unlock the secrets of the universe. As the rest of the team scrambled to gather what data and artifacts they could, Harry and Mira stood at the heart of the facility, channeling the power of the precursors in a desperate bid to stabilize the planet and secure a future where humans and Deltans could work together to unlock the secrets of the ancient civilization. The ground beneath them shook violently, threatening to tear the facility apart. Harry and Mira's hybrid bodies pulsed with energy, their minds working in perfect synchronization as they manipulated the complex precursor technology. Sweat beaded on their brows as they pushed their newfound abilities to their limits. "We need more time," Harry shouted over the din of alarms and crumbling infrastructure. Mira nodded, her eyes glowing with tenacity. "We can do this. We have to." Outside, the evacuation ships hung in low orbit, unable to break free from the planet's increasingly unstable gravitational field. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the communication system, tinged with urgency. "Harry, Mira, we can't maintain this position much longer. The planet's magnetic field is fluctuating wildly." Commander Zax's voice joined in. "Our sensors are detecting massive energy buildups in the planet's core. Whatever you're doing, do it fast." Harry and Mira exchanged a glance, their mental link conveying volumes of information in an instant. They redoubled their efforts, their fingers dancing across the precursor interface with inhuman speed and precision. Suddenly, a surge of power coursed through the facility, threatening to overwhelm them. The energy crackled around their bodies, arcing between control panels and sending cascades of sparks showering across the room. "It's too much," Mira cried out, her voice strained with effort. Harry gritted his teeth, his mind racing for a solution. "We need to redirect it." In a desperate move, they channeled the excess energy into the planet's core. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The facility shuddered as massive tectonic shifts began to reshape the entire world. Through their connection to the precursor systems, Harry and Mira watched in awe as islands rose from the oceans and mountains formed in seconds. Valleys deepened, rivers changed course, and entirely new landmasses emerged from the depths. Above, the human and Deltan ships found themselves caught in a massive electromagnetic storm. Bolts of energy arced between the vessels, overloading systems and threatening to tear them apart. Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships, engage emergency protocols. Reroute all power to shields and stabilizers." Commander Zax added, "Deltan vessels, synchronize your deflector arrays with the human ships. We need to create a unified energy field to weather this storm." As the combined fleet fought for survival, Harry and Mira realized the true scope of what they had unleashed. The planet's transformation was accelerating beyond their control, threatening to destabilize the entire system. "We need to merge fully with the precursor systems," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper. Harry nodded solemnly, understanding the implications. "It's the only way to guide the process. But if we do this, we might not come back," Mira finished his thought. They shared a final, intimate moment, their hybrid forms intertwining as they prepared for the ultimate sacrifice. Their lips met in a kiss that transcended species, a union of human passion and Deltan empathy. Just as they were about to initiate the merge, the chamber door burst open. Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Krell rushed in, their faces flushed with excitement and exertion. "Wait!" Dr. Rodriguez shouted, holding up a device cobbled together from precursor tech and their own equipment. "We've found a way to harness the Guardian's bioluminescent properties." Dr. Krell nodded enthusiastically, his iridescent skin pulsing with excitement. "It can create a buffer between you and the precursor data stream. You can guide the stabilization process without losing yourselves." Hope surged through Harry and Mira. With rekindled dedication, they accepted the device, integrating it into their interface with the precursor systems. Their bodies began to glow with a mesmerizing blend of precursor energy and bioluminescence. As they reconnected with the planet's systems, they felt a new level of control. The chaotic energy that had threatened to tear the world apart now flowed through them like a symphony, responding to their every thought. Harry and Mira began to exert their will over the planet's transformation. Mountains shifted, oceans receded, and atmospheres reformed. They shaped the world into something new, a planet capable of sustaining both human and Deltan life. In orbit, the electromagnetic storm began to dissipate. Captain Chen watched in awe as the planet below transformed before her eyes. "All ships, prepare for landing. It looks like we might have a new home after all." As the combined human-Deltan fleet descended through the newly stabilized atmosphere, Harry and Mira completed their work. The planet settled into its new form, a breathtaking blend of Earth-like and Deltan environments. Exhausted but triumphant, Harry and Mira disengaged from the precursor systems. Their hybrid forms had stabilized, leaving them as living bridges between human and Deltan biology. They emerged from the facility to find a welcoming committee of both species waiting for them. Captain Chen and Commander Zax approached, their faces beaming with pride and gratitude. "You've done it," Chen said, her voice filled with emotion. "You've not only saved us all, but given us a future we never could have imagined." Zax nodded in agreement. "In light of what's happened here, our governments have agreed to establish a permanent joint colony on this world. It will be a symbol of what we can achieve together." As the implications of this announcement sunk in, Harry and Mira looked out over the landscape they had helped create. Rolling hills covered in iridescent vegetation stretched to the horizon, while in the distance, crystal-clear oceans lapped at shores of shimmering sand. The guardian creatures, no longer bound to their protective duties, began to approach the gathered crowd. Their bioluminescent patterns pulsed with curiosity and what seemed like approval. Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Krell were already discussing plans for studying the Guardians and the precursor technology. "The potential for scientific advancement is staggering," Rodriguez said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Indeed," Krell agreed. "And with your unique physiology," he added, gesturing to Harry and Mira, "we may be able to unlock even more secrets of the precursors." As the sun began to set on this new world, Harry and Mira found a moment of peace amidst the flurry of activity. They stood hand in hand, watching as the first structures of the colony began to take shape. "We did it," Harry said softly, squeezing Mira's hand. She turned to him, her hybrid features softened by a smile. "We did, and this is just the beginning." As darkness fell, the bioluminescent life forms of the planet began to glow, painting the landscape in a breathtaking tapestry of light. Harry and Mira knew that their journey was a long way to go. The mysteries of the precursors still lay before them, waiting to be unraveled. But for now, they were content to watch as humans and Deltans worked side by side, building a future neither species could have imagined on their own.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.